Hi, today Ella and I are going to learn how to make our own quicksand. Quicksand is a really cool substance, and we want to investigate how we make it and why it acts in the way that it acts. So the directions for quicksand calls for maize corn flour, but I was not able to find that at the store, so instead I decided to try cornstarch. And when we did an experiment on this the other day to see how it worked, the corn flour worked. So we're going to dump in 1 cup of corn flour, which you can go ahead and do, or cornstarch, which you can go ahead and do now, Ella. And now we are going to put in 1/2 cup of water. We've clearly had a little bit of a cornstarch explosion. And when we are conducting a scientific experiment so now you use the spoon, Ella, and you have to stir it together in a quick but not hard way. So when we are conducting scientific experiments, we always want to make sure that we are thinking about safety first. In this experiment, we're keeping a neat and tidy workspace. I don't have Ella wearing safety goggles because these are all sort of natural products that we're using. But if it was, different products and I was concerned, she would wear safety goggles, maybe wear gloves. But in this case, she's not. And Ella would like to use her hands to try to mix it up. But I think, Ella, that you need to use a little bit more spoon. Yeah. And I'm just going to talk about some different ways that this experiment could fit into the curriculum, as well as the main concepts that it is exploring. And I would say that the fundamental concepts that this experiment explores are ideas of matter and energy, and that fits into the Ontario science. Okay, our other video, the iPhone ran out of storage, so we switched to the iPad now to continue with our experiment. And Ella has just commented to me that she feels that this mixture is a little bit too soupy, and so she wants to add some more cornstarch to the mix. So I'm going to have her add some more cornstarch. Now, if I was doing this in a science classroom, I would have the students actually measure the cornstarch and measure the water that they are adding to the mixture. And in that way, they're learning a really important job of the real scientist, in that everything has to be exact, and you want your experiments and the evidence that you collect from your experiments to be reproducible. So, but back to how this fits into the curriculum, I feel that this fits really nicely into both grade 2 and grade 5. And in grade 2, they study what is a liquid and what is a solid. Students investigate properties of liquids and solids. As well, they investigate through experimentation interactions that occur as a result of mixing and or dissolving liquids and solids, or solids and solids. And in grade 5, students look at the properties of and changes in matter, and a specific expectation is that they use the scientific inquiry experimentation skills on page 12 of the curriculum to investigate changes of state and changes in matter. Ella's had a little bit of an explosion on the floor of the cornstarch. Ella, it's okay. Foley's not going to hurt Foley.
There's not enough water in here now.
So now Ella's feeling that there's not enough water. So she's going to add a tiny bit more water. And I would introduce this with a classroom of students. First talking about making a guess, having the students predict what will happen, which sort of is part of the explorement and engagement in the 5E learning cycle. So we would look at we would look at what the students predict might happen with this material. And we would make guesses, and we would have a hypothesis about it. So Ella, can you show our friends here how the mixture is working? Can you pick it up in your hand? Because it looks like we might have the right consistency now. So the cool thing about this quicksand is that you hold it in your hand and it is like a solid, but
Mommy, it's not a solid enough. I need to mix it more.
and Ella says she needs to mix in some more.
Some more cornstarch.
Some more cornstarch in. Okay, can I dump some cornstarch in? There we go. So this is a little bit of trial and error, but without an adult helping, because I'm here videotaping without another adult, it's maybe a little bit tricky. But let me do an explanation, because after you had your students conduct the experiment, first giving their predictions, you would want to talk about what is happening and explain why this has occurred. And for this experiment, if you add just the right amount of water to cornstarch, it becomes very thick when you stir it quickly. This happens because the cornstarch grains are mixed up and can't slide over each other due to the lack of water between them. Stirring slowly allows more water between the corn flour grains, letting them slide over each other more quickly. Poking it quickly has the same effect, making the substance very hard. If you poke it slowly, it doesn't mix up the mixture in the same way, leaving it runny. It works in much the same way as real quicksand does. And in my research, which I did, which I would also have my students do, which would be to explore a little bit more about quicksand, I learned that quicksand can occur in almost any any environment, providing that the situations are ideal for it to occur, but it's rarely more than 3 feet deep. Those were some of the important things that I learned about quicksand, and I would have my students do a more thorough sort of exploration, which is also part of the 5E learning cycle, and an elaboration also on what else they could discover about quicksand. And then we would evaluate at the end how this could apply to other areas, as well as how successful we felt that our experiment was. So now Ella will take this, and what happens is that it forms a solid in your hands, but as soon as you let go, it does that. Ella, is this fun to do?
Yeah.
If you were in school and your teacher did this, would you think that it was a fun experiment?
Yeah.
Yes, good. And what did you predict was going to happen when you put the cornstarch in the water? Did you ever expect that this would happen?
Not really.
No, so it was kind of an exciting surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to work at first.
You didn't think it was going to work, but it did. Excellent. So can you show us one last time? I'll zoom in here, pick it up, and show how it can be like a solid in your hand. And so hold it into your hand like a solid, like we were doing the other night. Just in one hand, just in one hand. And see how it oozes out of her fingers. All right, that is Julie.
Now it's solid.
And that is bringing us close to the end of Julie and Ella's 5 minutes of science. How to make quicksand and incorporate it into the Ontario curriculum. Say bye, Ella.
Bye.